Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Happy Being Well. We have an exciting guest today. We got LC Currie. He's a podcast host of Recovery Soulfood, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. It's an awesome, awesome podcast. It is on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube. Also, Elsie is a spiritual guide, spiritual teacher, and motivational speaker. So I'm really excited today about this episode with LC. LC's been on the show before, so I thought it'd be really cool and fun idea to do an NLP live demonstration with LC. So it's a real treat for you guys today. So today we're going to be doing with LC. We're going to be having LC, helping him stop smoking using NLP. And for those of you who don't understand, who don't know what that acronym stands for, it stands for Neuro Linguistic Programming. I'm a certified master NLP practitioner and NLP trainer. So I know a thing or two about NLP. And so I figured, why not do a live demonstration with LC? I think that was really fun and really cool. And so before we do that with LC, this podcast is sponsored by happybeingwell.com, your online store for high quality and creative leggings, crystals, sage, Palo Santo, natural candles, natural deodorants, and much more organic self-care goodies at happybeingwell.com. Free shipping in the USA. Use code podcast25 for 25% off all activewear leggings. Also, subscribe to Happy Being Well's email newsletter for 10% off all items, any items on your first purchase. So, also, quick little announcement. Happy Being Well has been nominated in the health category for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. So we would greatly appreciate and your support in voting for Happy Being Well at podcastawards.com.
Yes.
And just it's a quick sign up. Make sure you create an easy to remember password, because they want to verify you to make sure you're not a bot, so none of the nominees are cheating. Quick sign up, type in the name of the podcast that influenced you the most. Click, sign up as a voter, and then scroll down, look for the health category, because that is where we're located in the health category. Click the drop down menu, select Happy Being Well, scroll down again, click nominate, and then verify your vote in your email. You'll get an email from Podcast Awards and click verify, and then they'll have you re-enter and log into the site just to verify you're not a bot. So you just simply, type in your email that you used to sign up as a voter and the easy to remember password that you created to log in again, just to show that you're a real human and not a bot. Would appreciate your votes. Yeah.
It's worth it. It's worth doing that to show such appreciation for, to sow into a podcast that's sown into another's life. It's a small little thing to do. That verification email can get tricky though, because sometimes I'm glad you say something about it because you don't expect it, and so you might miss it. So make sure you do the verify the email and make that vote count. You wouldn't want to go through all of that and not have your vote count. So I'm so proud of you. I'm just so proud of you in this show. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was on LC's podcast as a guest 2 times,
That's
and
right.
and the first time that I was a guest on his podcast, I wasn't even a podcast host, and,
Nope.
I created this podcast after being on LC's podcast as a guest, and he's a phenomenal host. I
Thank
hope
you.
I'm just as good as LC. He's
Yes.
phenomenal. He really makes his
Yes.
guests feel comfortable and, really just I remember I just felt so comfortable. I was really pouring into his audience because it was, LC
Yes.
is really good with his guests. So yeah, Elsa, I'm so grateful that you're back.
Yes, me too. And to do this, my favorite thing, the way we connected in the first place through NLP. And here we are to do this. So I'm honored that I got to be one of the ones, and I hope that it helps. Smoking is just a habit that it's very, very hard to quit. And as my life has grown in recovery, from substance for 9 years, and just becoming authentically myself, I'm moving towards a vision of myself that smoking is just not a part of. I don't condemn anyone who's in the place where they're smoking. I mean, it all serves a purpose at some time, like I don't regret it, but I'm ready to move on. And so I want something that I can work on that's not just fighting cravings, the same as addiction and stuff. You have to heal it at a deeper level. You have to do different things. And this is like a yes and type of recovery, and it's a full life recovery. So I'm grateful that you're going to help me with this. And for anybody
Yeah.
else out there, just give it a try. It's going to feel different at first. It's going to feel strange, but that's what change is. And I'm excited. So thank you.
Absolutely. And it is change, right? And in the major kind of reason for change in people is really it's an identity shift. And this technique it kind of touches on tapping into how you see yourself and how you prefer to see yourself in
Mm,
association with the behavior that you don't want to do anymore, right? So
yeah.
there's a lot of things that this technique kind of encompasses in order for it to work. And also too, like, if you guys want to learn more about neurolinguistic programming, on LC's podcast, when I was a guest the first time, that was what the podcast was about. It was like, what is
Yeah.
NLP? It was like my first,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like the first time I was on your show, and I went deep into
Well,
discussing what NLP was. And
still
um,
one of the highest rated and viewed one of episodes. That first episode we did, still one of the highest rated views we've got, most viewed.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, so with this technique, it's really cool. Like in it, and it because it involves visualization. And what we're going to be doing with LC, the reason why this technique works, like everyone, it's like it's a kind of like it's involving conditioning. It's involving creating a neural link, an association, um, because all of our behavior is we're basically triggered by something, right? It's like a
True, true.
right, like say you know every I don't know someone like we do there's always association based on behavior. um like a woman, for example, perhaps in her when she her ex-husband may have like would touch her left shoulder before he would start, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
berating her or whatever. Maybe that was
Right.
his ritual, right? He'd always touch her left
Right.
shoulder before berating her. And so after she leaves the marriage, whoever touches her left shoulder, it's like a trigger, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. For
this
sure.
technique that we're going to be doing with LC involves creating, but this is we're going to be creating a positive trigger.
Yes.
Right? It's going to be a positive trigger to change the bad behavior or the behavior that LC no longer wants to perform anymore, and no longer wants to commit to anymore. So, and it involves visualization, it involves, identity, how we see ourselves, how we prefer to see ourselves in association with the behavior we want to commit to, right? The positive behavior we want to commit to instead, as opposed to the behavior that we no longer want and no longer serves us.
Mm,
So, so yeah, that's basically, I just want to describe how it works. And
cool.
also, like if anybody knows anything about Pavlov's dogs, it's kind of the same
Yeah.
principle and concept around Pavlov's dogs. If anyone doesn't know about Pavlov's dogs, it was anyone who went to college, university, we kind of, was kind of covered in it. So it's basically Pavlov used a dog, he studied a dog in association with what he could condition the dog to do. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, when you place food in front of the dog, dogs will naturally like, just like humans will start salivating, like we know the food's
Mm-hmm.
coming. And so he associated a bell, the ring of a bell, whenever he presented the food, to the dog. So eventually the dog, then he wouldn't present so eventually the dog associated the bell with the food because he knew the food was coming. So when the bell,
Right.
he would hear the bell. Yeah. So eventually he stopped bringing the food. He just rang the bell and the dog would still salivate, right? So it does involve that concept to it. This is how this technique works. It's because that's what our minds do naturally. So we're just basically
Yeah.
using how our mind processes information, events, experiences, and reconditioning it to perform a new behavior.
Outstanding.
Yeah. So we're going to be doing this. It's called a swish technique in NLP. And so we're going to have LC. Now, LC, what I want you to do is I want you to be comfortable. I want you to, be comfortable. And I want you to visualize in front of you, just close your eyes and visualize in front of you a mental picture of you smoking, right? However that looks like to you. And it's going to be a big picture in front of you smoking. Okay. And I want you to visualize in a little picture that's going to be located on the bottom right hand corner of a picture of like what it means to not, like, what does it look like to not be smoking? Like, who would you, if you don't smoke, like, what do you see yourself as? Like, are you looking, how do you look? Are you looking more professional? Like, whatever associations or how you see yourself representing yourself, if you don't smoke, how does that look like to you? Most importantly, how does that feel like to you? I use the word professional, guys, because me and LC were talking earlier, and he had said that, he used the word professional how as how he sees himself if he doesn't smoke. So I'm not implanting any suggestions to him. That was his word. That's why he said professional. I'm using that's LC's concept and word. It's
That's
not
it.
right, LC, you did say that.
That's right. I certainly did. Yes, in fact. Yeah.
Me and Elsie we had a conversation. I actually had a long conversation before I recorded the podcast because we haven't talked in a while and we were catching up. And so I was kind of walking him through the demonstration that we were going to do today. And as he was talking, he just described, um, you know, how, because we were talking about media, because I remember, because I was also saying, does anyone even smoke anymore? Because like we don't,
Right.
it's no longer glamorized in the media. And I was talking
Yeah.
about the 90s, like when I was like in high school, I would, I actually would smoke. I thought it was so cool. I was a teenager.
Right.
I was a social smoker because it was like, I remember watching movies like Reality Bites, and it was like, oh, it's so cool to smoke. These days I'm like, I don't even, are people still smoking? I don't see it anywhere, barely in the media. It's no longer glamorized. It's no longer cool, right?
Yeah.
But he went on to describe, you know, his area, his experiences of it, and so what he sees, and so he used the word professional. So that's why I
Yeah.
use that word, guys. So I'm
Yeah.
not implanting
Definitely.
anything. So
Yeah. I don't mind the help. Implant some professionals in there. Implant.
no.
It'll help me. Well, it's true, guys. That was my vision for myself. I just felt like it would be more professional in the area in which I work, in a resort area, not to present myself with the same quality as I do my work. And for me, that is just for me not being a smoker. So that's just where I am in my journey. I don't condemn most people I know smoke. So, I don't condemn others for smoking. It's just where I am in my journey. And so, if you smoke, smoke, but if you want to quit, why not give this a try? I mean, I'm doing it with other things too. So I have different goals for my habit. So I hope that you have goals for whatever habit you use this technique on. I hope that the goals that you have like really mean something to you in your heart, because it'll make it so much easier, I think, to put the visualization there and put the feeling in. So
Okay.
so back to
Yes.
professional.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. All right. So now we're actually going to do the technique. I was just kind of walking it through the audience to kind of, we're going to be doing a big picture of a visual representation, a mental image of the behavior you don't want. In this case with LC, it's smoking.
Mhm.
And then we're going to form a little picture far away, far from you, on the bottom right-hand corner of what you see, what's the ideal, like the ideal image, the ideal behavior you want instead of you smoking. Okay. And make it colorful and bright on the bottom corner. And it's far away from you. And also, as the picture, we're gonna what we're eventually gonna do, and also to associate the feelings, what it feels like to have that behavior instead, that image that you're representing instead of the the behavior that you don't want. So, how does it feel like in your body? How are you standing? How are you looking? What are you wearing? What is your face doing? You know, and so as we do this exercise with these two images, right? The big image of you smoking, the little image is far away from you on the bottom right-hand corner. What's going to happen is we're going to switch out, we're going to swap these images. So as you see the big image in front of you, you can use your hands too, because I'm using my hands. You can put your left hand in front, you can put your left hand in front of your face, representing the big image, and you can use your right hand far away from you to represent the little image that's far from you. And we're going to swap out. So we're going to visualize, we're going to close our eyes, we visualize the image that we don't want, the big image in front of us, which is smoking. And then we're going to swap it out. We're going to go swoosh. And what's going to happen is the little picture that's far from you in the right-hand corner is going to fly up to the center of your mental screen, and it's going to become big and bright. Okay. And you're going to see that image instead of the image you don't want. Okay. So you're just basically swapping it out. And so we're going to do this a few times. So we're going to open our eyes right now and look at the big image that we don't want. And then close our eyes and do swish and have that little image fly in front of our face and become bigger and brighter. Okay. All right. So open our eyes again and look at the big image of what you don't want and do swish. Okay. We're going to do a few more times. Big image, and then swap it out with the ideal image. Switch. Okay. Image of the big image you don't want in front of you, and then the little image in the bottom right hand corner. Fly it out and do swish. Okay. And I'm going to have you do it a few times on your own without me talking, so you can process the information a little bit better
Okay.
internally.
Okay.
Yeah, do it. You can just have you just do it yourself. I'll give you a minute there.
Okay. a great visualization tool.
Yeah, and I'm noticing a physiology change when you switch out the pictures. You're smiling more when
That's
the
great.
ideal image comes to your face. I'm seeing a smile. Your smile gets bigger,
Yeah,
which is
like
what
I
we.
want to let go.
So to really anchor it in, like it's really obviously ideal, do it on, alone, and do it as since obviously smoking is addiction, so to do it as much times as possible to really anchor it in, and to do it
Yeah.
with as much emotional intensity as possible. That's how you really anchor in. That is the positive association to swap out the the image or the behavior that we no longer want, just to have that switched over. So how did
Let
that
me ask
feel?
you,
Yeah, go ahead.
it felt great. Let me ask you this though. I want to make sure, like when I'm picturing the initial like picture of where I am smoking or whatever, do I need to feel the emotions of that like I feel the new image? I mean, is that part of it, or is it just okay to swish the image?
Yeah, so
Okay.
you can feel, yeah, you because if you're going to look at it naturally, you're going to, you know kind of
Hmm.
feel it anyways, because when you're visualizing something you're doing, our body usually reacts to what we see. And yeah, so but I always want to make sure, like when you're looking at the image of the ideal behavior, that you
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
sure make sure you
Okay.
have the emotional intensity with that, because it really anchors it in. It really,
Yeah.
to have that
Okay.
replace the bad behavior, to create that neural
Okay.
link. Um,
Perfect.
yeah. Because the bad behavior, I mean, I don't want to use the word bad behavior, but it is a bad behavior. No one should
It's
be smoking. It's
hard.
bad for your, it's bad for your health.
That's right.
So,
It
you
is the
know,
truth.
yeah. And so um yeah, so
Well,
that's
that's
how it
awesome.
really, we have to make sure our emotions are associated. We have to really tap into how it feels like in our body, and for that to really work effectively. And also to making the image, like the image of the ideal behavior, bright and colorful as it flies up into your mental screen, and to swap out the image of the behavior you no longer want. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it's an awesome visualization. I mean, visualization is fun anyway. I mean, you got to know where you see yourself to know where you're going, you know. So it's really neat having putting that emotion and giving that energy and that time. So I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah,
this so much.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
will
yeah.
keep y'all posted on my smoking journey as we go along.
Yeah, you have to come back on this show and let us know if you're still smoking or not. If you
I
when you
will do
stop,
it.
well, no, you're going to stop smoking. It's locked in.
It's
You
locked in. It's
it's
done.
locked in. It's done.
It's done.
It's just done. Like
Done.
you.
It's done. Yeah. Like I'm a non-smoker. I'm a
Yeah.
non-smoker. And that's the thing. You got to not try. You just got to do it. And so like I sincerely like really wait to be led on things, because I think when we're at the space where we're already moving that way, we're growing, it's so much easier than to just try to stop something, for the sake of stopping it. If you don't start to try to understand what it's giving you, like what you're receiving from it, it's hard to truly let something go. Even, and anybody that understands addiction of any kind really understands that. So I don't want to fight to let it go. I want to naturally let it go in a way that's almost like thanking it for being that coping mechanism that got me through the 90s. And now it's time to evolve somewhere else. So I think that's a great grace giving technique, having that. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
amazing.
And the reason why I place so much emphasis on the image of the ideal image, um, because it's basically, because it's kind of, I'm not going to say, it's something that, because we're replacing it. So when you pull up
Yeah.
the screen of the behavior that you're, that you no longer want, it's really easy to tap into that emotion because we know what
Yeah.
that feels like, right? So that's
Yeah.
why the new image, it's, you have to like really you have to
Yeah.
really tap into that,
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Perfect
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah, and then also with visualization, like we weren't taught to visualize, so I feel like it's
Right.
the more and more we do it, the better we get at it. And it does take effort. So it's, it's why, not a lot of people do this, right? We're busy,
Right.
we're not used to thinking in that way. We're used
Yeah.
to having images being shown to
That
us,
negative bias. Yeah.
yeah, where we don't have to work to see the
Yep.
image.
Yes.
It's pulled up on the TV screen. It's just there. And we just sit
Yes,
down
for sure.
sedated, and let the TV hypnotize us. So this, in
Yeah.
this respect, this requires it requires effort on our part to actually, run our own
Yep.
TV screen and our mental image screen. So
For sure.
it's discipline. But I mean, if you do it, and that's how we create change, and this is how we manifest as well.
Yep.
And manifesting involves visualization, tapping into those emotions as well. And what we're doing with this technique, it's the same ingredients, it's the same process. It's just, this is now creating a behavioral change that we want.
Yep.
So, and that's how manifesting works as well. It's literally the same thing. We're using our brain technology to create
Yes.
change.
Like a fast track to that long way around the manifesting. It's like, because manifestation, I want to manifest not being a smoker. I want to manifest that life for myself. And so, it's almost like an almost faster way because you're utilizing the emotion and like the neuro pathways, like creating something different. I think that's what I love about NLP. And I think we discussed that on that first episode, that's what you love about it as well.
Yeah, like what we're doing right now in this demonstration, or, any particular visualization process or technique, it's basically like the reason why, if you actually do it and commit to it, as many times that you need to actually create that neuro association, it's basically what happens is it's like our mind is now focused on that. So all of our thoughts are going to be more focused towards committing actions to make it happen.
Yeah.
That's what
Yes.
this is. It's like activating the reticular activating system, like if you start thinking about, it's that whole classic example, what is it, with green jettas, or if you never think
Yeah.
about green jettas, and you start thinking about green
Yeah.
jettas, you start seeing them all over the place.
Everywhere.
It's
Yeah.
like the same thing. It's like,
Yep.
because you're activating the reticular activating system. We're focused and we're thinking about it, so we start seeing things more. It's the same
Yep.
thing with anything. Like your mind is focused on something, um so you're going to be tuned in. The perfect thing is, like, if anyone's a writer, um and you're trying to write for, whether it's a book or it's a movie script or a TV show. It's like, and you're stumped, but if you start directing your mind, okay, what is a good angle? Like, what's happening today that everyone's kind of talking about, that everyone wants to know more about, and you're focusing on it, and you're going to get light bulbs, right? It's all about
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
focusing and harnessing your mental energy like a laser light, is what
Yes.
we're doing. And
Yes.
that's how we get results. It's how we create things. And that
Yep.
is literally being laser focused. And this is a mental technique to help you get that laser focus and create those neuro associations to make that happen, to really activate all of our mental faculties so that we're
Yep.
aligned to that action, to that behavior that we want.
Yeah. It's a mind, body, spirit type of healing mechanism with, between the brain and the body. I mean, it's it hits on all cylinders. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to really getting into it and spending some time, really, really doing it, and and just really put it into this, put my heart into this. And I've can't wait to come back and share my success story with the Happy Being Well audience.
Yes, I can't
With
wait
it.
to have you back as well and update us on if you're, smoking still, but you're not going to be smoking. So you're going to be on back. You're going to let us know that you're not smoking anymore. You're a non-smoker. So any closing words before we go? Do you have any announcements about your podcast?
I do. I don't know when this podcast will actually come out, but in case it comes out after this Saturday night, which is July the 23rd, and then Saturday, July the 30th, I am having my amazing friend, author, speaker, comedian, all around divine feminine human being, Miss Kara Foster, coming on my Recovery Soulfood podcast. And I say that because the the information and the just the love and energy that she shares, like the whole world, it's like getting a hug. And she's just an amazing human being. She's going to be on the Recovery Soul Food podcast on this Saturday night, July 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern, and on the 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So y'all join us or catch the replays of that. And I just want to congratulate my good friend Rita and the Happy Being Well in this podcast for being nominated for such a well earned, place in the nominations, and should absolutely win. You really just it's just amazing getting to watch you just grow into your authentic divine entrepreneur, just badass self. And it's amazing. For Thank you for taking us with you, and y'all go vote. Just go vote. Do all the steps to vote, and let's watch Happy Being Well win in the health category.
Thanks.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks, Elsie. That means a lot to me, especially coming from you. Like I said, you're a phenomenal podcaster. And that means a lot. And yes, guys, vote, vote, vote for Happy Being Well at podcastawards.com in the health category. Every vote matters, every vote counts, and it really will help the show spread further awareness and education around mental health,
Yes.
self-love. I'm a big, huge advocate for self-love. I've personally, had low self-worth issues that I didn't even recognize. And, that was like, a real journey to really, really
Mm-hmm.
recognize that. And
Yeah.
this podcast really covers it with, either, and also too, a lot of techniques on releasing stress and anxiety. This podcast covers as well, and a lot of education around how to meditate and guided meditations, and so much more, either with myself or with guests. And I really do pour a lot of energy, because I've been there and I know what it's like, going through that personal development journey. It really is a journey. It's building blocks. It's like,
Yeah.
you learn and then you get better at implementing each area of personal development one block at a time, because it's a lot. There's a lot of areas to it. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't, even happen in a year. Like, it took me years and
Right.
years of learning and increasing my awareness
Yeah.
and practicing to really harness that self and emotional
Yeah.
mastery.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
still,
still,
and
yeah, it's
still.
just I'm still learning more, and even not just like even learning more, but even just still reading the books.
Yeah.
It's like you you kind of, it helps activate, oh yes, this is why I do that. Oh yes, and more insights.
Yeah.
I still listen to personal development podcasts. I was just listening to
Me
Robert Greene on he oh my god, I love Robert Greene.
too.
Love
Oh.
Robert Greene. um and he's Robert Greene is the author of 48 Laws of Power. I've had his book
That
for
sounds familiar.
years, and he's I love hearing him speak. He's been on Lewis Howes, he's been on Tom
Mm.
Billow. Tom Billow is
Oh.
the husband to Lisa. I'm probably botching their last name. I'm pretty sure it's Billow. And Yeah, it's conversation.
Amazing.
The podcast is called Conversations with Tom. Amazing podcast. Um, and his wife Lisa has her podcast, which is Women of Impact. And they're both phenomenal podcasters.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, and
Amazing.
I'm
Definitely check
still,
that out.
yeah, oh yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing. He's amazing. Yeah, I love listening to Robert. And
Mm,
highly recommend everyone. I mean, he's written amazing books as well. He's a great book author with amazing insights into human behavior.
mm.
Phenomenal. He's actually started his
Check
career,
that out.
funny enough, in Hollywood. But yeah, so I always say people who are writers in Hollywood, they always have the most amazing insights into human behavior. Because I mean, for
Yeah,
them to create those masterpieces of
yeah,
so
yeah, for sure. It's amazing. Mm, mm.
yeah.
Books
Yeah.
changed my whole life, it's books, books and books. And, you know, still, but I'm gonna definitely look that up. I don't know why I haven't heard of that.
Well, there's so many amazing personal development, authors and speakers. I mean,
Gosh.
but for me, I love Robert
Mm,
Greene's stuff. Like I think each one really has their own focus in
mm-hmm.
describing behavioral change. And and I feel like the more and more we really absorb and immerse ourselves into it, and then we live life, the more we realize why this matters so much. and then
Right.
and then we
Yeah.
start implementing more, and we get better at it. But we can't stop immersing ourselves in the education and listening to it, because that
Right.
molds our behavior. What we see and what we hear molds our behavior because it goes into our
Yes.
subconscious.
Yes. So when you don't think that you're being, like spoken to, you are. If we just veg out in front of the TV, that's what's coming in. And yeah, it's we can feed ourselves or we can be fed. It's just up to you. Up to you. Only
Yeah.
one true freedom. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's coming to that time, guys. I thank you so much, Elsie, for being a guest on the show today.
It's
This was a
amazing.
real treat to do an NLP
Lovely.
live demo with you. Um, and guys, be happy, being well, and go vote. Go vote for Happy Being Well at
Yes.
podcastawards.com in the health category. All right, guys, sending love and light. Love you all, and subscribe so you don't miss another episode of Happy Being Well. We have more exciting guests to come and more exciting episodes so you can live happy being well. All right, bye, guys. Until next time.